Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. And the Boxing Along the Podcast, Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network can be heard on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, TuneIn, and on Stitcher.com. And hope we can support that and support one of those podcast networks. Hoping to get on more podcast networks as we go along. And we are looking for some great things, of course, throughout the next few weeks as the magnificent May along the Beltway continues this week. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to update the card that's coming up this Saturday at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in D.C. And we'll look back at the great weekend we had this past Saturday in Fairfax, Virginia, and around the country. Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network, brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, from shoulder pain to muscle strain, everything in between, Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And buy DeborahSpears.com, where she has those great weight loss tips. You can do it without dieting, eating real food along the way. And also she has that great jewelry on her site at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. We're going to do something a little different this week. We're going to first do our update and do our preview of this week's card coming up at the Entertainment Sports Arena, the Tricky Entertainment card. We're going to talk about what's going on this week. And then we're going to go back to last week and a lot of events that went on. I have some final thoughts on the card that featured, of course, the main event where Julian Williams defeated Jarrett Hurd for the unified super welterweight title. We'll talk about that at the second part of our podcast today. Well, as you say, the magnificent May along the Beltway continues this weekend, Saturday, May 18th at the Entertainment and Sports Arena. That's in Southeast Washington, D.C. It's a Tricky Entertainment promoted card. Now, headlining this card, two members of the Beltway's the Bella Entertainment promotional camp, Beltway boxers who were part of the Bella Entertainment. And one bout features DC super featherweight, the Dark Menace, Tiara Brown. She'll take on Angel Nonstop Gladney of Columbia, South Carolina, as a 10-round contest for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Super Featherweight title. Brown is undefeated. She's 7-0, 5 KOs, coming off a fourth-round TKO against former world champion Dahana Santana on December 8th in Bowie, Maryland at the A.C. Jordan Arena on the campus of Bowie State University. Now, as you probably know by now, Brown is a Metropolitan Police Officer, and she is the reigning D.C. Police Officer of the Year. She does a lot of community work and does a great job as a police officer. Meanwhile, Gladney is 10-14-1, 6 KOs. Recently broke a 3-bout losing streak by winning a 6-round split decision over Rolanda Andrews. That was on March 30th in Columbia. Now, Gladney has faced the Beltway box before. She lost 3 bouts to Jennifer Salinas, 2 by unanimous decision, and then one, the last one, Salinas knocked Gladney out. She's a tough lady, though. No question about that. It's been an interesting test for Tiara Brown, one of the more experienced boxers that Brown has faced in her young career, and it should be interesting to see what happens. That's one of the co-featured bouts on this card. Tiara Brown taking on Angel Gladney. The other co-featured match is Forestville, Maryland middleweight Alantez Slides of Fox. He'll be in an 8-round contest against Nick the Machine Gun Brinson of Geneva, New York. As we talked about last week, Dominic Wade was originally supposed to be in that bout, but he's out, and Alantez Fox is in. And Fox returned after suffering an injury. He had a rotator cuff injury, and he had his first pro loss against Demetrius Andrade. And he came back and he won an 8-round unanimous decision over Elvin Ayala on September 22nd at the A.C. Jordan Arena in Bowie, Maryland, Bowie State University. And he is 24-1-1, 11 KOs. Now, Fox will try to make it 2 straight wins for the family after his younger brother, Michael, the Professor Fox, captured a big unanimous decision win over previous undefeated Faslidian Fazi Gabnazarov. That was on May 11th in Tucson, Arizona. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later on in this podcast. Brinson is 19-4-2, 9 KOs. He returns to action for the first time since September 2017. He scored a 6-round TKO over Jaime Barboza in Verona, New York. Now, in another 8-round contest undefeated Hyattsville, Maryland super lightweight Patrick YG Pat Harris. He faces off with veteran Anthony Psycho Woods of Nassau in the Bahamas. Harris, in his last outing, won a 6-round unanimous decision over Bergman Aguilar on March 24th at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Knox Hill, Maryland. That was on the Lemon Peterson Sergey Lipinus bout. And Harris is now 15-0, 8 KOs. He's doing well. This opponent, though, takes a step back from Aguilar. Aguilar had a good record going in that bout. He was 14-3. But Woods is 10-23 with 3 KOs. So I don't know what he's going to get out of this one. But Woods is coming off a 4-round unanimous decision win over Nico Yayo on October 27th. That was in New Providence, Bahamas. So we'll see what happens, though. Patrick YGP Harris taking on Anthony Psycho Woods. In a 6-round all-Beltway bout, Greenbelt, Maryland cruiserweight, the Vanilla Gorilla Sam Crossett. He'll take on Frederick, Maryland's Larry Hitman Pryor. Now, Crossett is 8-0, 5 KOs, coming off a tough 6-round split decision that a lot of people, including myself, thought he lost against Twan Smith. That was on the last card of the Entertainment Sports Arena back on December the 1st. Crossett was knocked out in the second round of that bout. He held on for the win. Pryor is 10-25 KOs. He'll be trying to break a 6-bout losing streak, which includes a 4-round majority decision loss to Greg Hackett. And that was on April 20th at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. I was there for that bout because I was the ring announcer for that event. And Pryor just didn't have it against Hackett. I mean, to the point where Hackett was really outworking him, and he lost that bout. But both of these guys come off some tough bouts. Crossett come off that tough win, and Pryor come off that tough loss. So we'll see what happens in this bout. Sam Crossett taking on Larry Hitman Pryor. That bout scheduled for 6 rounds. DC Super Featherweight Jordan Short Dog White will also be in a 6-round encounter. He'll take on veteran Christian Esquivel of Tijuana, Mexico. White is 7-1, 6 KOs. He also made his last appearance on that December 1st card at Entertainment Sports Arena. He scored a first-round TKO over Nadir Spearman. He looked very good. Esquivel once fought for the WBC Bantamweight title. He's now 30-17-1, 23 KOs, but he's winless in his last 7 contests, including a first-round TKO loss to Carlos Caraballo on February 16th in Ponce, Puerto Rico. So that's a 6-round bout, Jordan White against Christian Esquivel. In a 4-round bout, Silver Spring, Maryland, George Harris. He's looked good in his bout so far. He returns to action against Antoine Taylor of Cincinnati, Ohio. Harris is 3-0, all 3 of his wins by KO. He scored a first-round knockout, crushing knockout over Lamarco Ellis on April 20th at Rosecroft Raceway. Taylor is 4-10, 1 KO, lost by fourth round, TKO to Junior Anthony Wright on March 22nd in Ammon, Indiana. So that's going to be interesting about it. As I said, Harris looked very good as of late, so we'll see what happens in this bout coming up. And we have a DC welterweight by the name of Torian Untouchable Tip Venable. He's out of Washington, D.C. He's a welterweight taking on Jonathan Condi from Miami, Florida in his pro debut. Condi is 0-2, and Venable making his pro debut. I do not know anything about Venable. I don't remember him from any of the Golden Gloves or any kind of the amateur events, so we'll see what he has on this card. Now, a couple other Beltway boxes scheduled to be on this card. Ronaldo Misunderstood Gaines is scheduled to be in a 6-round bout against an opponent to be determined. District Heights, Maryland super featherweight, who's 9-2, 3 KOs. He returns after a year's absence when he stopped Johnny Frazier in the first round at Michael and Son Sportsplex in Sterling, Virginia. And he looked good in that bout, and I talked about even back then how focused he was after that bout was over. So I don't know why he is taking this time off. So we'll see what happens in that one. And also Malik Jackson, who's 2-0, 2 KOs. He's scheduled to be on this card as well. He hasn't fought in a long time. And right now he still has an opponent, looking for an opponent for that bout as well. So that is going to be Saturday, May 18th at the Entertainment Sports Arena in D.C. The Magnificent May along the Beltway continues. This card coming up. We may do a broadcast for this card. I'm not sure if someone is doing a broadcast on this one. If not, then Juan March and I will have the call for the bout. So keep posted. Make sure you stay with us on Facebook and on Twitter for updates on whether or not we can do a broadcast from this card. That's on Saturday, May 18th at the Entertainment Sports Arena in Washington, D.C. Now, also coming up this Saturday, in a big bout, of course, at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., WBC featherweight champion, he defends his title against Kiko La Sensacion Martinez of Alicante, Spain. Russell is 29-1, 17 KOs, and Martinez is 39-8-2 with 28 KOs. We did a little preview of that one a couple weeks ago. Now, the brothers, the Russell brothers, Antonio and Antoine, will also be on the card. Antonio Russell will be in an 8-round contest against Saul Eduardo Bebe Hernandez of Lakeside, California, by way of Tijuana, Mexico. Antonio Russell's 13-0, 11 KOs, came off a 6-round TKO win over Jose Maria Cardenas on March 2nd at Barclays Center. Hernandez is 13-12-1, 8 KOs. He stopped his last 3 opponents, however, but, this is a big but, those opponents had a combined 1-loss record of 0-3. That's very true. So we don't know if we can say much about Cardenas's opponent's situation. Eduardo Hernandez's situation, but that's ugly. I'm sorry, that's ugly, especially when you're going against an undefeated boxer with the talent that Antonio Russell has. Meanwhile, Antoine Russell, he'll compete in an 8-round encounter as well against Marcos Bombadero Mojica of Managua, Nicaragua. Russell's perfect. He's 8-0, all 8 of his wins by KO. He last fought on January 26th at the Barclays Center. He knocked out Roberto Almanzan in the second round. Mojica is 16-3-2, 12 KOs. He looked to bounce back from a 3rd-round TKO loss to Daniyar Yelusinov on November 24th, all the way in Monte Carlo. So that is on Saturday, May 18th as well. The Gary Russell bout is the co-feature to Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale, and that bout will be shown on Showtime Saturday evening. So we see him in Saturday evening. Now, one thing I have to say, Russell, along with his brothers Antoine and Alan. I didn't see Antonio, but I know Russell, Gary, Antoine, and Alan were all at the card Saturday at the Eagle Bank Arena, and there's some footage of Gary Russell talking trash about Gervonta Davis. And they're talking about this bout coming up in the near future. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, to be perfectly honest with you, but both these guys have business to take care of in the interim. Of course, Gary has his bout this Saturday, and Gervonta has a bout scheduled for July 27th, which is scheduled to be at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore. We'll talk more about that later on, but that is scheduled to be at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. And once they get past that, and especially if Russell, does not get a chance to fight Leo Santa Cruz, then maybe we can go for this. But right now, this is just talk. It's just ridiculous. No, Gary shouldn't even fall into that situation. We'll just see what happens. So that's Saturday, May 18th at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Also on Saturday, May 18th at the Powell Center in Hockinson, Delaware, a couple of Beltway boxers looking for wins on this bout. Dontre Pound for Pound King will be in a 4-round bout against Brandon Mullins of Newark, Delaware. King is 7-20-2 with 3 KOs. He last fought on September 15th and lost a 4-round unanimous decision to Michael Crane at the Powell Center. And Mullins is 4-0, scored a first-round knockout over Hassan Hagler on March 3rd at the Powell Center as well. 4-0, 2 KOs from Mullins. Also, Dameron Kirby's on this card. He'll be looking for his first win. He's 0-2. So that's the updates for this week. As we look at last week, couple of things. First of all, no Golden Glove champions for the Beltway this year. We got 2 guys that went to the finals on the DC region team. Kelvin Davis and Malik Titus both fell short in the finals. Tough loss for Joel Chachunjin in the semifinals, and Nick Sullivan got as far as the quarterfinals. And that's just some of the results from the National Golden Gloves in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Malik Titus is already talking about turning pro in the very near future. So hopefully by the end of the year, Malik Titus will be a pro. He's had a good amateur career. He won a number of regional titles. Just couldn't get over the hump though on the national scene. But he will be he'll be turning pro very soon. Maybe Joe Chachunjin will be as well. That'd be interesting to see, because I think he might, both of these guys might be really good pros coming in the near future. So we'll see what happens there. Also, we talked about that win for Michael Fox over Fazliddin Gabnazarov. Oh, that's a beautiful win for him. That could be a statement win for Michael Fox, much like Jarrett Hurd's win over Frank Galarza was a statement win for him. Again, I've said this now many times. Michael Fox is, without question, and right now in this area, the most technically sound boxer, pound for pound, in this area. And he showed it demonstratively on Saturday night, on May 11th. He had a big reach advantage. He's going to have that against most of the boxers he faces. He's going to have a major height and reach advantage. He was 6'4", and Nazarov was 9 inches shorter, and that was tough for him. I mean, it was really tough for him for Nazarov to get inside Fox, and Fox did that long reach, and he knows how to use it. That's the thing, and he always knows how to fight tall. He doesn't fight short. He doesn't fight down to the level of his opponents. And he just kept Gabnazarov at bay, got him frustrated. Gabnazarov lost 2 points for holding in the bout. And it's a tremendous win for him. No question about it. That's a great win for Michael the Professor Fox. And that's a statement. I think that's a statement for him. He can build off that, and who knows where he might go from there. And so he doesn't have the knockout power. That's the one thing that might hurt him against the tougher competition when he has that time keeping guys off of him. But that reach is that's going to carry him big down the stretch, and also his brother, Alantez Fox. They're going to both be carried by that height advantage that they both have, because Alantez is 6'5". So that's going to be interesting to see what happens down the road with him. So Michael Fox, who did not have, again, like Jarrett Hurd, did not have a great amateur career. He comes in now and has a solid pro record going on, just one loss. And it'll be interesting to see down the road what happens with Michael the Professor Fox. That's a big win. And like I said on the post-fight wrap-up show last weekend, Gary Antoine Russell, who lost to Gabnazarov in the Olympics in the quarterfinals, was really anxious to find out what happened with that bout. And he was very happy to see that Mike Fox won it, which is great. That's good support there, but I know he was very happy to see that. Now, some final thoughts on Jarrett Hurd and Julian Williams. And quite frankly, I'm a little dismayed about some of the comments I've read on social media over the last couple of days since the bout. First of all, as I said before, Julian Williams fought an excellent fight. All the credit really should go to him, because he really fought a great bout. As I said on my writing for the bout, on the blog, boxonthebeltway.blogspot.com. Same thing in Fight News, same thing on the Washington Informer news article that come out this week. He outworked, he out-hustled, and he out-punched Jarrett Hurd. I think it's the simplest way you can put it. I mean, that's what he did. And he did it to his credit. He found a way to really, he was faster than Hurd, for one thing. And he found a way to stay inside and not get damaged by the hard punches that Jarrett Hurd throws at times. But my issues are twofold. I have another separate issue. I have one separate issue, and I have one issue that's devoted to the fight itself. I think the criticism that's going to the Hurd camp, led by his longtime trainer Nestor Rodriguez, is unwarranted. Here's why. Number one, I don't think they froze under the bright lights. I really don't. I think I will say that I really was afraid going into this bout that Hurd and his camp took on too much in the promotion of this bout. Now, granted, they had to do it. I had to do some of it. They didn't do all of it, but they had to do some of it. I get that. But maybe that took away from working on the game plan. Okay, in hindsight. I don't think they lost it. They made some mistakes because the whole thing with Vaseline, I get that. The Vaseline in Hurd's eye, and that kind of hampered him for a little bit. But I don't think it takes away from the great win that Julian Williams had. I think people are trying to use that as an excuse to take away from him. And they try to use it as an excuse to overly criticize the Hurd camp. And now it's about, they need to get rid of the camp. No, he doesn't need to get rid of the camp. That camp's been with Hurd since day one. And I don't think they made the mistakes that cost Hurd the bout. I think the only thing I can really criticize the Hurd camp for is the same thing I criticized Gary Russell for when he lost to Vasyl Lomachenko. He had no plan B. And because he never needed a plan B. Okay? The same game plan that Hurd had got him to wins over Frank Galarza and JoJo Dan and Tony Harrison and Arislani Lara and Jason Wellborn. So he never needed a plan B because plan A always worked. But they never looked at what would happen if plan A didn't work. And Saturday night, plan A did not work. And he did not have a plan B to go with that. I get that. And that happens. And now they have an opportunity to develop a plan B. Now I think that plan B should start with some defense. We've always known, as I said on the podcast, on the Post-Fight Episode podcast, we've always known that defense was not one of Jarrett Hurd's strong points. It was just magnified against Julian Williams last Saturday. So I think that had a lot to do with it. His defensive liabilities came to the forefront, and he couldn't overcome them this time. There were no late fight heroics like there were against Arislani Lara this time. Now, I say he says he wants a rematch against Julian Williams. He's got a rematch clause in his rematch. And if he takes it, fine. I would like to see Hurd move to 160 because I think at middleweight, he can really do some damage. And he doesn't have to worry about cutting weight in a quick period of time. He said at the weigh-in, prior to the weigh-in, at the press conference, they was at 158 at that time. So he cut a little more than 4 pounds between the Wednesday of the press conference and Thursday of the press conference and Friday the weigh-in. He got down to 153.8. Now, I know he knows how to do that, and I'm not a big, I know nothing about how to cut weight or anything along those lines, but I really didn't think he looked all that drained per se. But I think the combination of that plus all what he did with the promotion of this fight had a lot to do with some of the things that went on Saturday night. So he'll definitely be back. I mean, it's not a big loss. It's his first pro loss. Everybody, all the naysayers suddenly come, he wasn't that good to begin with. Yes, he was. That man has had a wonderful career thus far. And he's done a lot with that career. He's brought a lot of great exposure to the Beltway. I mean, that crowd, that 5,105 attendant crowd last Saturday was tremendous. They were hyped. They were ready to go. And they were there early, which is very interesting. And so I think he did a lot for the Beltway. He has done a lot for the Beltway. He'll continue to do a lot for the Beltway. He's not going anywhere. And he should not leave his camp to go somewhere in this situation. But again, all the credit goes to Julian Williams. He fought outstandingly in that bout and deserved the win. No question about that. And we talked about, the post-fight episode show talked about a lot of things going on in the show. Prayers to both Demond Nicholson and especially Mark Duncan. I mean, he took a brutal knockout from Kevin Womack Jr. And we just pray he's okay. Demond, I've talked to some people with Demond Nicholson, and they tell me that he's okay. He'll be all right. But cutting, as we've seen, cutting weight is no joke. And for Demond to have that reaction after he made 168 pounds may tell me he didn't have to make 168 pounds anymore. He should go up to 175. Now, I don't know if he has the power at 175 that he has at 168. We'll have to wait and see if he does that. But that was tough. No question about that. And again, Mark Duncan, he took a brutal knockout from Kevin Womack. We just definitely send our prayers to him as well. Now, the other thing that I have a major issue with, and I think some of you know where I'm going with on this situation, the Fox telecast. Now, I have the utmost respect for Lennox Lewis, and I have the utmost respect for Joe Goosen. Chris Myers, why he's doing boxing, I don't know. But it's not so much the commentary. I really don't have a problem with the commentary on this case. My issue is with the broadcast and whoever did the research or lack thereof for this broadcast. Now, during that broadcast, they put up all the great champions. Not actually, I won't say all because my good buddy Russell Peltz told me that was a very short list they put up for the champions from Philadelphia. They mentioned the likes of Bernard Hopkins, of course, and some of the other great champions out of Philadelphia. And there's some great boxers, no question about that. But come on. You couldn't do a list, even a partial list, of the champions from the Washington, D.C. area? Really? Come on now. I mean, let's start with Sugar Ray Leonard. You can start right there. And then you go to Simon Brown and Maurice Blocker and Keith Holmes and Mark Johnson and William Joppy and Sean Bay Mitchell and the current one with Hurd going into that one and Gary Russell Jr. That right there is an amazing list. Okay? And then you want to add Winky Wright, who's from D.C. but won his title out of Florida. You may want to put him there. I don't think you should put Riddick Bowe there because, again, Riddick Bowe's from New York. And although he lived in the area, he really called himself as being from Brooklyn, New York. Heck, man, and the one that people forget about is Eric Mighty Mouse Aiken, who was the IBF featherweight champion at one time. But come on, folks. We have just as big a history as Philadelphia does. Philadelphia has that great image and all these Philly fighters and whatnot. And they deserve it with Joe Frazier, fighting out of Philadelphia. And the great champions they have. They have tremendous champions. I'll never take that away from them. But don't take it away from us. Don't take it away from us. We have a legacy in this area. That's what I've been doing for the past 36 years, is chronicling that legacy. And a lot of that legacy took place within the last 20 years. Let's call it 25 years between Simon Brown and Jarrett Hurd and Gary Russell Jr. right now. Okay? We're not even counting the ones from Baltimore at this case. Although, they have a great history there with Beltway and Hasim Rahman and, of course, Gervonta Davis right now. But just in the DC, I'm talking about right now, just in the DC area alone. And to rob us and rob people of the knowledge of that history is absolutely criminal. It's unfair. It was frustrating to see. I was very angry to see that. Because they could have very easily have talked about both guys and both the lineages that they have connected themselves to. Come on. Lamont Peterson. Holmes. We have two Hall of Famers in that mix. Okay? We've got Got Marty Sharp Johnson and Sugar Ray Leonard in that mix. Okay? You know, we got 3-time world champions in William Joppy, 3-time world champions in Lamont Peterson. You know, just great boxers, guys who are fan-friendly fighters. Sean Ray Mitchell was a great boxer on television, as was Keith Howard Holmes, as was William Joppy, as was DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley. I mean, these guys were tremendous champions. And to really denigrate us by not talking about it is absolutely, I'll say again, criminal. And Fox should be taken to task for it, and they will be taken to task for it by yours truly and other people involved. That it was upsetting to see that, especially in our own backyard. Even make it even worse, it was in our own backyard that they did that. I mean, come on. We have a great lineage. And it just makes myself and Juan Marshall work that much harder to make sure that the history of the Beltway boxing scene and the current Beltway boxing scene gets exposed to the boxing world. And we are doing that. There's no question about that. And other people do know. But for Fox not to do it was just absolutely ridiculous. And I really am upset about that. And that really hurt me to my heart to not get our guys recognized in the history that we have. I mean, again, you go back to Sugar Ray Leonard, of course, even further back, we talk about Bob Foster, who was a world champion who fought out of this area. You know, he's from Phoenix, Arizona. He won his title while he was here. And again, through all the boxers I just named as champions. I mean, that's what we've been doing this for all this time. And that's what we will continue to do. So we'll see. We hope they will change their focus in the near future once they do another bout here in this area. Well, that'll do it here for another edition of Beltway Boxing News and Notes. And, of course, coming up this Saturday, the Magnificent May along the Beltway continues at the Entertainment Sports Arena in Washington, D.C. Excuse me. Having some voice problems here. I don't know what's going on. But should be an interesting weekend. No question about that. Of course, next weekend we'll be at the MGM National Harbor Casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland. That's for the Matchroom Boxing card. And that will feature Devin the Dream Haney out of Las Vegas, Nevada, taking on Antonio Moran of Mexico City, Mexico, for Haney's WBC International Lightweight title. We don't have a lot of Beltway boxers on that card so far. The only one that's scheduled to be on that card is Lorenzo Truck Simpson out of Baltimore. So we'll give you more details about that next week here on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. And Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network, once again brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. Get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief when you buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. Great weight loss tips and great jewelry on Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Don't forget to go on the Best Buy and Amazon links on boxingonthebeltway.blogspot.com to get great items, excuse me, from those websites. And you can always follow me on Digital25. Any questions, comments you want to send me, you can do it on Twitter at Digital25. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Reminding you as always, keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Hope to see you on Saturday, May 18th for the card at the Entertainment Sports Arena. Till then, have a great night, everybody. Take care.